I saw some discourse about this. It's pretty funny. So you guys might remember how just a little while ago, JD Vance got caught having done drag. This was one of the photos. Remember? You know, and it's like, okay, whomst amongst us as a guy hasn't done drag? Well, answer number one, me. I dressed up as an emo once when I was 15 years old for Halloween, you know, like with the Twilight book and everything. But I was still dressed as a guy. See, that's how secure I am in my gender identity. JD Vance, maybe he's a little more on the fritz, but okay, I won't judge. I'm just kidding. I will judge. Anyway, a new photo has hit the timeline. Here's him supervising some classmate girls in high school pretending to use a urinal. Now, a bunch of people in chat, your immediate reaction is going to be, what is this? And then you think about it for a second and it's like, oh, it's literally just a dumb photo that doesn't mean anything. Use your heads. It doesn't matter. It's like a high school, like just a dumb photo. Like what? Like nothing wrong is here. There's no one's like held hostage. You know, it's fine. And then you think a little harder and you realize it's not fine, actually. If this photo had been of any prominent queer activist, left-leaning person, Democrat politician, would Republicans not be calling them pedophiles and groomers for this? Wow, bringing girls into the boys' restroom? So your gender deviance began early, huh? Wow, even as a kid, you were da-da-da. If this was anyone on the left side of the aisle, even remotely left, this would be like, I mean, Trump would be talking about it. He'd be talking about it at the press conference. He'd be talking about it at the rally. They'd be saying, you know, Tim Walz, they got photos of Tim Walz. He was bringing girls into the boys' bathrooms, pretending to use urinals. He didn't understand what a woman is. He doesn't know girls can't use urinals. You know, they'd freak out about it. Now, I'm of the opinion that it's just a stupid high school photo, but I think it's really, really, really important to remember that the shit the right will go after you for and call you a pedophile for is not only innocuous in many cases, it is ubiquitously done. You know what I mean? Like, there are out there right now on Facebook, there are good, honest, ordinary fathers who are like, ha, my son painted his nails today. Like an 8-year-old boy painted their nail, like whatever, okay. And they're getting replies in the comment section about how they're grooming their kid, or like men should be men and what have you. And this rhetoric has been normalized to the extent where like now everyone, literally everyone, everywhere, it falls under the purview. Like they all fall below the groomer bar, depending on how it's sort of selectively applied, you know? By that logic, everyone gets hit. I think that we have to engage in good due diligence here and be loud about the fact that all of these standards are not only stupid and arbitrary, but if applied equally, hit literally everyone, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just makes me feel a little bit insane when, because on one hand, right, on the obvious hand, a lot of Republicans, the pundits, the loud people on Twitter, the politicians, are literal, actual, right? Like literally you go on Twitter and you say trans rights are human rights, and somebody called like Hitler Cunny 1488, whose entire feed is reposting lolicon, is like kill yourself, you know, many such cases, not even a joke. That's an obvious one. But on a lower level, it's the fact, don't worry about it. It's the fact that all human behavior, normal human behavior, has been subsumed by this like selectively applied standard of a pretty like heinous smear as well. We're not even talking about like, I think it's irresponsible to do this or that. We're talking about like whether or not you're a groomer, you know? It is very funny that JD Vance is getting hit with it, and he looks like, I mean, they're very funny photos in the sense of if you dislike JD Vance, you can you can say a lot about it. Comic relief, but literally, yeah, like, you know, you're here to be the punchline to a setup in a lot of ways. JD Vance in particular, the fact that they went with him, and again, never forget, they went with JD Vance because he was meant to be the stooge. He was meant to be like the puppet who goes in and enacts the Project 2025 agenda, because they knew that Donald Trump would not be disciplined enough to meaningfully enact it. There are a lot of connections between JD Vance and the Project 2025 guys. He's just like a wormy little nerd weirdo sex creep. He was pushed for by Don Jr., Musk, and other dudes. Yeah, it's and they're also wormy little sex creeps, you know? Donald Trump is a sex creep, but I wouldn't describe him as wormy. He's got more of a, there's more bombacity to his weirdness, you know? A little more performance art. JD Vance, there's no theater. There's no theatrics. Well, speaking of, if we could accompany this. We love our Oppo research, don't we, folks? This is just 4 years ago.
And you can sort of see the effect it has on him to be around them. Like, they spoil him. There's sort of all the classic stuff that grandparents do to grandchildren. But it makes him a much better human being to have exposure to his grandparents.
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female in theory. Did your in-laws, and particularly your mother-in-law, show up in some
if you didn't catch that, JD Vance is essentially saying, well, the biological purpose of a postmenopausal female, aka a grandma, basically, is to help raise children. Who talks like this?
Clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female in theory. Did you
show to his grandparents?
Well, I don't know.
And the evidence on this, by the way, is like super clear.
That's the whole purpose of the postmenopausal female in theory. Did your in-laws...
I don't want to watch the whole rest of it, but I mean, you can read the text. He also agrees when the host says grandparents helping raise children is a, quote, weird, unadvertised feature of marrying an Indian woman. Incredibly weird incel shit, right? That's like the entire right wing, like all of the advocacy you see. The way you get new Republican voters, you're not convincing, like, you know, octogenarians to change their vote. If you find the 180-year-old who's a Democrat, you're not getting them on board. You know, you need younger Republicans. How do you bring younger Republicans on board? You convince them the fact that they're not getting any pussy, which is, by the way, because they're just fundamentally wretched, people. Young Republicans? Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. Like, you don't even have the, you can't even do the, like, oh, well, I became a Republican after 9/11, you know? Like, you don't even have the, I guess, the softening of time. If you're like a 21-year-old Republican, you're cooked, genuinely. Anyway, the incel lines, that's the best way to get people on board. Sexual insecurity, okay? That's the bedrock of fascism. 100% always has been, always will. So you get JD Vance, who is like the... And like every other time some dipshit from 4chan gets famous, everyone else denounces him. Nobody likes JD Vance. Nobody. Nobody does. You know? Certainly not his own people, right? Because JD Vance, because performative self-hatred is a huge part of, like, being a part of the incel crowd, you know? So JD Vance emerges from a community of people who desperately want a, like, slave child wife to... And then he says that if you're unmarried, your taxes should be higher. You know, he's kind of like sort of kicking dirt down from the perch that he climbed the ladder up to. It's weird stuff. It's very, very, very weird stuff. Is it Ted Cruz levels of hate? Ted Cruz is significantly more likable than JD Vance. And I am not softening how weird Ted Cruz is with that language. But he is. Weird shit. Vance would absolutely say men and females. I mean, I think he kind of just did. The whole purpose of a post-menopausal female, you know? You know, you hear language like that pretty often from the incel crowds. It's fascistic language. It's doing to sex and gender what racial science was meant to do to the racial distinctions, right? You take a social hierarchy and then you reinforce it with pseudoscience that's meant to clarify and exaggerate distinctions, real or imagined, you know? There is no purpose of the postmenopausal female. That's not, nature doesn't instill in things that are born purpose. That's not how that works at all. It's like an Evo psych perspective, you know? Well, obviously the reason why X and Y happen, there's no reason why. It's just the genes, you reproduce and the genes happen. There's no higher order intelligence dictating this, which obviously a religious person might disagree. But I think a religious person might also argue against the idea that the purpose of a postmenopausal female is to raise children, you know? I feel like there might be some postmenopausal females out there who think that their purpose is like pottery. I think that God might have a plan for some postmenopausal females that's more in the lines of like crocheting, being a church lady. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Going on hikes. I don't know. You know what I'm on about. Yeah, maybe gaming, you know, maybe they're a big like Battlefield fan. Who knows? It's just, it's universally unlikable because this weird incel rhetoric is obviously misogynistic and off-putting and people don't like it, but it also doesn't appeal to the far right either because it doesn't resonate with the evangelical crowd's particular attitude towards gender and sex differences, which are a little bit more fake flowery than this Evo psych bullshit. And he's not popular with the incel crowd because he wants to raise their taxes. So whatever. We all know JD Vance is unlikable. I don't know. I don't know, man. Just check the polls and you're right. Seems like Ted Cruz actually does have a higher favorability than JD Vance. Cruz is 40 and Vance is 33. Wow. I didn't know there was a 7-point difference. That is genuinely remarkable. That is actually incredible. 33. Oh my God. Vance is a historically awful VP pick. Maybe that's like the natural Republican instinct when up against a black opponent, you know? Obama, you get Palin. Kamala, you get, they're like, JD Vance, you know? He's worse than Palin, let's be real. Man, isn't it crazy how much worse everything has gotten? Like, Palin was a historically unpopular pick because she was, like, stupid and ditzy and loud. Trump says stupider shit than her all the time. I can see Russia from my house has nothing on, like, anything Trump says at any rally that he does. She didn't actually say that. Well, in the imagined conscious, I don't know. I wasn't politically active back in 2008. I was too busy jerking off. I don't remember. Anyway, that's the SNL bit. It's real to me. Anyway, yeah, it's like Trump says stupider shit all the time. It's kind of crazy. Everything's gotten so much worse and the bar has gotten so much lower. Where's that? Hold on. We were going to go. I want to go over the bits from the whole press conference. Where's that one bit? Here we go. Like this, man. Sarah Palin has nothing on this. Genuinely not. Like it's not even remotely close.
That virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that. But
Sarah Palin has nothing on this. Genuinely nothing. It's not even close. Assad numbers, yeah, no kidding.
The government hasn't caught up with that yet.
Remarkable stuff. Remarkable. Yeah, no white dude has gotten a job in over a year. Well, I'm a white dude, and I haven't had a job in like, 5 or 6 years or something. So I guess what I'm saying is true. Well, more than 5 or 6, because I was in university beforehand. And you're proud of it. I loved being a drain on the economy. Don't you always make jokes about the fact that this is your job? Yeah, and then I make jokes about how it's not a real job. Yeah, the important part is the comedy. If the thing that I say is funny, that makes it true. Especially if we're talking about something as ephemeral as the authenticity of a job like live streaming, okay? If we're in the ballpark of like, is this a real job? The truth is, what is a real job? When someone with a mustache signs your paychecks? No, a real job is when you are lying in bed after the alarm goes off and you're looking at the ceiling and thinking, I really don't want to go to that today. And and you make your money from that. That's what a real job is. And that could be anything. That could be drawing furry That could be working at Starbucks. That could be being the president of the United States. What that couldn't be is me, because I'm always happy to be here, folks. You know, couldn't be me. So yeah, I guess this isn't a real job.